I am an American living and working in Vietnam. I'm constantly exposed to both US dollars and dollars. Familiar currency from home and Vietnamese dong. Vietnam, the official currency here. The parallel use of these two currencies not only bring interesting experiences in everyday life, it's also given me a chance to see the difference between a strong global currency and one currency mainly circulates within VI countries. But in this article, I'd like to compare to dollars in many ways. From the history of international standing, purchasing power to influence for the economy and people's lives. And through there, I hope readers can understand better because SAO, the difference between USD and Vietnam is so big, as well as the meaning of this for atrial trade relations. Vietnam, a history and position of USD and Vietnamese dong. US dollar born in the late 18th century. After the United States gained independence, through many historical upheavals, USD, it's become the world's most influential currency, especially after World War II, when America emerged as a great power, leading economic and military nations, with a strong financial system, the deep capital market and policy, flexible currency of the Federal Reserve. Permission. USD is widely used in international transactions, became the main reserve currency of most, the central banks. Meanwhile, the Vietnamese. Vietnam was only officially born in 1978. After the country was unified, the North used its own currency. The South uses the Republic of Vietnam. After many exchanges and reforms, Vietnam dong, it is now published and managed by the State Bank of Vietnam. Different from Vietnam dollar dong, it's mostly domestic and less accepted in international. Vietnam is often associated with the story development of an emerging economy. There are many challenges, but there is also potential. A to value and purchasing power. What makes the first impression for an American like me to come to Vietnam? It's the face value. While in the US a $100 note can be considered large, then in Vietnam, a simple meal can cost a few $1,000s. Now the exchange rate hovers around $1 26 commas. No Vietnamese mail dong. This means just exchange $100. I have in hand more than 2.6 million Vietnam dong. That's a very big number for Americans. But it's actually just enough for a few days of basic living. In big cities like Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, this large difference reflects the value, the purchasing power of $2. The dollar has strong purchasing power across the global VI. While Vietnam copper is only valid within borders, Vietnam baht even with many international transactions. Vietnamese people were also forced to convert to USD or other hard currencies. But stability and inflation for. One of the biggest strengths of the dollar is stability. Even though it's affected by inflation, especially in times of crisis, economic or post-epidemic. But the dollar remains safe. Many investors and countries see USD as a refuge when the global economy is unstable. On the contrary, Vietnam copper is often under pressure to devalue. Over time, within a few decades, exchange rate US dollar on Vietnamese dong has increased many times. This reflects the long process of inflation and the large import demand of the Vietnamese economy. However, it should be noted that the Bank of Vietnam has attempted to manage monetary policy, help Vietnam dong avoid hyperinflation that some other countries have encountered. 4. Affects people's lives. For the Americans, consumption in USD provides a sense of stability and predictability. Salary savings and spending is less subject to extreme fluctuations in exchange rates. The opposite in Vietnam. Vietnam dong, it makes people's lives more desirable, more vulnerable to outside influences. For example, when the dollar rises. Import prices in Vietnam from fuel. Production of raw materials to consumer goods also increased. Inflationary pressure in the country. Workers are paid in Vietnam dong. You will have to spend more to buy the same amount of goods. That could reduce their actual purchasing power. However, with AIs that earn in dollars like exports, travel is the opposite. They benefit when they change to Vietnam. 4 years. USD and Vietnam dong in US-Vietnam trade relations. Economic relationship between the United States and Vietnam growing stronger and stronger. The US is one of the markets, the largest export of Vietnam, while Vietnam also becoming an important partner of the US in Asia. In this context, the difference in value between USD and Vietnam also has an important meaning. For the United States, goods imported from Vietnam, we have competitive prices thanks to the weak Vietnamese dong. This helps Vietnamese-made products from the textile industry, from shoes to wooden heads and electronics, easy to enter the market. Contrary to Vietnamese consumers, the import of goods and services from the US are becoming more expensive. This imbalance creates a trade deficit for the United States, but at the same time, helping Vietnam attract foreign investment again. Many American companies choose to set up their manufacturing plants in Vietnam to take advantage of cheap labor costs and exchange rate benefits. 6 perspectives of an American. From personal experience, I see USD as the king of global currencies. Strong and stable, trusted by everyone. Vietnam dong, on the contrary, reflecting the characteristics of a developing economy. Low value, little international influence. But it's still connected with the story, fast growth and future potential. 4. When using Vietnamese daily, I've learned how to look. Receiving money is not just about the nominal value. A meal costing 50,000 Vietnamese dongs in Vietnam, it might be much cheaper than $5 in America. But it brings a different experience value. The difference in exchange rate is not just a mere number, but it also reflects the economic gap, the living standards and production structures of 2 countries. I believe in the future. If Vietnam continues to maintain economic stability, macro and deep integration with the world, the Vietnamese dong can gradually increase its value and credibility, although it will be hard to compare with USD. But this improvement will help improve the lives of the people and the status of the nation. Conclusion. Comparing USD and Vietnamese dong is like putting them side by side. 2 contrasting paintings. On one hand, there is the strong currency that dominates the global economy. The other side is the modest currency, mainly circulating domestically. However, each coin reflects history, the culture, and the country's own path of development. As an American, I consider using both USD and Vietnam is like a precious experience. USD brings a sense of reassurance about global economic strength. As for Vietnam, it gives me a deep insight about the journey, the rise of a Southeast Asian country that is expanding its influence, integration,